Hello, my name is Camille Corbett, and today we have Chinwe Okorie, and we're going to be talking about filmmaking in weed and her newest film that just got into Austin Film Festival, Elephant. So, hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Where are you located right now?
I'm based in Austin, Texas.
Oh, yes. I actually love Austin. I've been there once and it was like so epic. It was so beautiful and it was so much cheaper than LA, but I heard it's changing.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper in a way that, like, in LA, everywhere you go, you have to pay to park, and at least, and that's so annoying. Because I think like a couple of years ago, I visited like a Starbucks and I had to park. I'm sorry, I had to pay to park, and I was like, this is absurd. Uh,
It's
this
a
is not.
nightmare.
Yeah, this is not the America I know. So,
That must have
I
been downtown though, right?
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, I don't really know what's considered downtown in LA. Like everything seemed central.
Yeah. Like West Hollywood seems like it would be downtown, right? Because that's what like people think of. But
Yeah.
like downtown is like more like east, so away from the beach, away from like everything that makes you like reminds you basically of LA, besides like the
Okay.
Dodger Stadium. That's downtown.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to finally move to LA. It's just that I'm waiting for that, that payday that allows me to comfortably live there. But no, I think Austin and LA are compatible in certain ways, but the weather definitely has LA has Austin beat by the weather.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you guys have like cool hiking culture too. Right
We
now, I'm
do.
smoking well versed sleep. Hopefully, this doesn't actually put me to sleep, but I really like really deep, like heavy indicas. I don't know. What do you like? Do you like indica or sativa?
So I'm not a big smoker. I mostly do edibles, but more so at nighttime. And it's
So,
been a while.
what kind of edibles?
Anything that is baked into a, bakery, cupcake mostly, or a cookie.
Wow. Oh man. I do not like edibles like that. I'm
No.
like very clinical about the edibles I take. I like the pills that don't taste like anything.
Oh,
Yeah, and I just swallow them like it's like a vitamin C. But
yeah.
yeah, that's probably not as like enjoyable. But I just when I bite into something and I can taste the weed taste, it just puts me off completely. I just want to actually enjoy a cookie or like a cupcake without that weird can of butter taste.
Yeah, I feel yeah. I feel yeah. I feel like for me, I just don't really like the smoke aspect of the smoking. I just like, ingesting in that
Would you
way.
vape?
I don't think I will vape either. Vaping just is similar to smoking.
Vaping looks like smoking. I mean, like these vapes are crazy. Like I just feel like so much smoke is or like vapor is coming for them. It's almost like I'm smoking, which I like, but I'm also like, damn, these are strong.
um,
um,
do they get addictive? Because I feel like that's also one component of it, like the vaping culture.
no, because they don't have nicotine. But if they sold like a spliff one, I could see myself getting very addicted. If they were mixing tobacco, I would like definitely be super addicted to it. But I think the problem is like the tobacco ones are the addictive ones.
Mhm.
But I can't even inhale those because I don't smoke cigarettes. So it like I don't even know how kids inhale them, to be honest. I cough so much from like the nicotine ones. But I want to learn more about you as an artist. Tell us a little bit about your journey. How do you come to be like someone who has like, like a film that they wrote and directed an awesome film festival? So many people like aspire to do stuff like that you're doing now.
Yeah, I was thinking about how 10 years ago, like, I was just wanting to finally make a movie and just didn't know the pathway to that. And I think organically it just kind of built up to this moment where I actually was looking on Craigslist. I saw that somebody was had a short film. That was back when, I don't even know if people really use Craigslist like that, but back then, like I went on Craigslist to look for jobs, and then I saw that somebody was looking for a script supervisor, and I didn't know what the hell that was, but I got hired, and I should probably have been cautious about this, but everything turned out well. I got on that set and then like networked with all the people there, and then started working on other people's set. And then when I felt comfortable, where like, hey, I want to make my own stuff, and I have watched other people how they like that done their crowdfundings and how they raised the money, and so thought maybe possibly that that's something can work for me. Um, Found out that not everything works for everyone else. Like the same thing that works for somebody doesn't work for you. So I had to figure out how the money aspect is a big thing of what being a filmmaker, and trying to make your own content, sorry, your own film. And so being in Austin, I found a couple of resources. When the city has a grant, then we also have like the Austin Film Society grants, and just a couple areas where we can raise money to make your own movie.
Oh,
And
wow. And so that's how you were able to fund Elephant?
yes, Elephant for sure. A big portion of Elephant's funding came from generous grants when the pandemic happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a lot of like all of a sudden, like a lot of like nonprofit open up their like pocketbook and say like, hey, we have grants for these artists. And I just like kept applying to so many, and I got one from Six Square. It was like a historically Black institute, sorry, nonprofit that supports the preservation of Black Austin. They have
Wow.
grants, and I got approved for that, and I got a grant from like Austin Film Society after multiple attempts, like 5 years of trying. I finally got a grant from this really competitive grants here in Austin. It's like Richard Linklater's company, and
Wow.
yeah, it's so competitive because even though it's called Austin Film Society, all of Texas is applying to that, and then they only hand out like 20 grants a year. And finally got Elephants funded through that means. And then once I got enough money from grants, what I had left, what I needed left. I crowdfunded, and I did like I think I raised about 6,000 on GoFundMe, and that's how Elephant. In total, I think it was like a $20,000 to $25,000 just for the short film.
Wow. That's insane.
I
But
know.
yeah, that's what you have to do. Like being a director, getting that money is like no easy feat. One of my heroes, Lee Daniels, talks about
Yeah.
that. He like started out his career like getting money from people, then was like, why am I not doing this for my own stories?
Ooh.
And sort of turned it around. So tell us more about like the story of Elephant. Where did it come to be? Like, how do you think of this story? Like, what was your process once you thought of it, to putting pen to paper, to getting it through production, to putting it through festivals?
Yeah, the story was inspired by a childhood event. I had attended all predominantly white school for I moved from Baltimore to this small town in Pennsylvania. Not huge culture, maybe it was a culture shock, but at the moment I wasn't really processing it. I'd like, oh my God, I'm like the only Black person in my class. But I befriended a girl, and one day we were walking to our buses, our different buses, and she just casually said she was had a rough day, and then she planned to up herself, like unalive herself. And she said it very casually, so it didn't like alarm me, because it was one of those like, bad day, I'm gonna kill myself. And then so I kind of just like like I let that in, and I didn't react. And then so the next day when we had like a homeroom class together, so they were doing a roll call. The teacher is calling out her name, and I also responded very casually, she's not going to be here because she offed herself. And or she like she said that she's going to off herself, I don't know. And so then chaos ensued with that. But what came out of that story is I was more interested in the part where she shows up in school. She shows up to school, and then she denies saying that. And then it was more of like she was embarrassed to have had problems. And so and then after learning more about her, where like she has her problem, but she's masking it. And so there's this elephant in the room and no one wants to address it. So like I was asked to apologize for even like speaking on something that I wasn't aware of. I didn't have like the language for. And so as an adult, I made a satirical dark comedy about mental health in middle school girls. So that's
That's
elephant.
so good. Yeah. Middle school is like the most fucked up period of anyone's life. Hands down. That's when I was the ugliest, the most insecure, and I was saying the craziest shit.
Oh, I
Like
was saying wild stuff. I mean, the personality, I mean, I can see my personality still being the same I am now, but I didn't really have like social training. I mean, like normal conversation, I just didn't have that. I would just like, I would be the person who, if you were having a, like, just say like the group of girls we're talking about, you know, our nails or like a favorite, like a celebrity crush, I would just start bringing up something morbid, like out of nowhere. And I'm just like, who does that? That's what I was
you
that
would be like, what if Harry Styles died?
yeah, like I would
Would
just
y'all
like
be
be,
sad?
I know, I'm just like just throw off the mood. I was just who I was at that time. I was just so I kind of like remember like that cadence of that version of me as 11-year-old, and I brought that to this dark comedy as well.
So what is like your dream project?
Well, I mean, I would love to make this as a feature, so that would be one dream project. But I think there's a story like, you know, ruminating in my brain, and I feel like I will love like to collaborate with other people. Like I'm Nigerian born, and so I'm Nigerian American, I guess. Um,
Yes.
and there is like this high concept fantasy Game of Thrones type story I have in my head, and
Ooh.
like it is inspired by my Nigerian roots. And yeah, I would love to make that, but I also like would love to like collaborate with somebody and get that off the ground, because I have more. I feel like we have fantasies, we have adult friendly we have adult fantasy, we do have like family friendly fantasy, but I don't think we have like we haven't had that for black like black Africans, Nigerians, kind of stuff. I mean, I know there is an author who I think it was called Children and Bones or something like that. I'm butchering a lot of names right now, but she has that lane. I would love to collaborate with her, because she has specifically that vision of making um fantasy imbued with her Nigerian roots.
Yeah, one of my favorite writers, Octavia Butler,
Yeah.
she you know, I feel like even adapting one of her books, I know Wild Seed is being adapted in one other of her projects, but like even that, you know, you would be great at directing that, writing like adapting one of those
Yeah.
books, because that's like the same genre. She leans a little bit more sci-fi than
Mm,
fantasy, but it is fantasy. It's like an
yeah.
altered reality fantasy
Yeah.
based off of lore. Yeah.
Yeah, Confession. I've never read one of her books, but I know she's one of the greats, and I need to start
It
picking up her book.
starts in Africa, which
Yeah,
is really interesting. Like all her lore starts there. And like the magic that the Black people have in America in her books comes from Africa.
I love that. I,
Yeah.
I gotta start reading some of her books.
Tell us some of like the people, like the filmmakers, writers, artists that inspire you as a filmmaker.
Ooh, uh, I mean, there's so many. That's what I love about going to festivals, because you're always reminded why you love doing what you're doing. Because you like either walk into a panel or just walk into a movie, and you're just like, this is why I love movie making. But to give you a name right at the top of my head, I cannot. Well, maybe I'll start with Jordan Peele, because I am loving
Yes.
I am loving the directions he's going with the story, and I love that he's like committed to like, you know, putting Black people on in the forefront of these stories, and then they're just told in the most interesting way. The story's told in the most interesting way. I love Nope.
Yes. It's so
I watched
good.
it the first time. I knew I enjoyed it the first time, but it was like the second time I watched it, I was like, I love this movie.
I want to see it again for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, it's actually one of my is I know people because I think it's so fresh for some people, so people are reacting immediately and saying like this is not his best. But I truly think it's one of his best.
It is.
I think I would say his second best because this is three. You know,
Yeah.
I think Get Out was his top. Like you know, that's
Yeah.
came out of the gate with an amazing movie. And then I think Nope, it's just spectacular because it reminded me so much of like a Spielberg level. And it
Yes.
was like we don't have that in that like for the culture for the
I
black.
know. It made me want to watch him do an action film so badly. Like
Yes,
I was just like, I can't wait.
yes, yes. And I hope that like because I know every time he makes a movie, people assume it's horror. And I think because it's always marketed that way, but I don't think that's what he's striving for, especially with
Yeah.
Nope. It wasn't like, oh, this is horror. Like this is more like
Yeah.
like you just said, action and vector. I think I left that movie feeling like this is like as close as enough we can get as an action vector movie from him as
Yeah.
currently. There's also like my more auteur like inspirations from like Yorgos Lanthimos. He's
Yes.
yeah, I love his work. I'm always excited whenever I hear he has a project out. Um,
Yes. No matter how white it may be, because it always is. Like
it's
that cast
so
is pasty
yeah,
for his
and keep
newest
it.
movie.
I mean, honestly, keep it white. I don't think some. I mean,
I would love to be in a Lorgos Lathios movie. So
yeah. Okay,
I'm
well,
bitter.
yes,
I am
invite.
bitter about it. I'm like, cast a black person,
Well,
please.
there should be. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be our equivalent of that too. I'm sure there is one here.
You're making it, right?
Sure, but I'm not a. I mean, yeah, he's yes. I'll be some version of that. I know that Terrence Nance, is that his name? He was a very interesting filmmaker. He had was that something? There was like HBO show he had. Let me fly. Uh, very like was that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Terrence Nance?
Is it Random Acts of Flyness?
Yes, yes, he's very
Yes.
interesting and dope. Um, I I know one project he had up was the Space Jam. He was gonna do the live action Space Jam, and I
What?
don't know yes, and I don't know what happened, but they like I don't know if he got fired. He just walked out of it, but they replaced him. I was like, I would have seen that version, whatever like version he had up of his sleeve. Like I wanted to see that. I knew it was gonna like push it forward and not give me the I don't know.
What I
That's what I
like
got.
about you is that you direct and write. I don't think you like being just a writer of features is very like a cucking situation. You could write one version, who
Yeah.
knows how many people are about to hop on too. I think there was like this leak recently talking about how there were 40 writers on a Marvel movie. How the fuck is the WGA going to figure that out? Like at least
Oh my
40
gosh.
writers got paid, but I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, being a writer director allows you to have that last word, for you to always have that co-writing credit at the very least,
At the
you
very
know.
least, absolutely. I do not enjoy writing, and I wish I was as more as prolific of a writer as like some of my friends. I'm in a writers group, which kind of encouraged me to keep coming up with ideas and writing. But I love directing more so. Writing, I have to write because the stories that I really want to see are not being told. And that's why I write. And yeah, I just want to keep adding more to our selection of stories we can watch and not like the same old tropes and plot points.
If there is one thing like you could tell your younger self, because you talk about having like this part of like the culture missing and feeling that, what would you tell your younger self, in order to help fill this void?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I felt out of place younger, like because I was like, I mean, it was pre like really social media and the internet. So I would have told my younger self, harness the weirdness, harness the thing that make you think you're different. I mean, I turn out I'm not as different as people have told me I was. I am there. I'm pretty common. Like there's so many versions of Chinwe's out there, but it's only one way to like I'm the only way to execute my way of being weird. But I think the one thing I'll tell the younger self side of me is be self-assured that you are like the way you see the world is okay, and when you have the chance to tell those stories, there's going to be an audience for that, and it's actually as universal as like is more universal than people at the like my little bubble was telling me, like people around me were always making me feel like I was just so different and like an outcast and no one unworthy to be listened to. But it turns out that have something to say and people want to hear it.
Definitely. I talk about this in like some of my other episodes with other people because I generally talk to women of color. It's like the world that we live in when we're kids, growing up in like the suburbs or whatever, is not the true world of how how things work, what people like, the sort of artists that people want to consume. All my life, people told me not to become a writer, that it was impractical, that it was stupid. And I was published from the time I was 15. And like when I graduated college, I was like a working writer, not in television yet, but I was a writer. And so for me, like if I had listened to them at all, then I would never be anywhere where I am. But like again, like I was just blindly like following something. You don't know if it's true at all, but it's good to affirm to people, especially people younger than us, that it is true. People do want to hear your voice. It is not just a fucking mirage.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously like things are winding down a little, but is there anything you want to plug in addition to Elephant or anything?
And Elephant will be out on public.
Yeah.
We got it's gonna be just like follow us on social media, Elephant Short Film on Instagram, and or you can follow me, Chinwe Films, CHINWE, Chinwe Films on Instagram. Don't follow me on Twitter because I'm not I don't talk about either side. I don't really talk about my film stuff on Twitter. It's very political and I just don't really want to be followed. You're really good. You really use your Twitter like how you should use it, like to like elevate your like, your brand. I can't help myself, but like
it's hard for me. I definitely like have to hold it in. Sometimes I'll like delete tweets after I say them. Like I'll call someone out. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this.
Oh no, I feel like your brand is like you know how to. You're basically just you're a comedian, right? Like your brand is to make everything funny and push the buttons too. And I think it just works well. And I figure out that like even when I try to like only focus on film stuff, I was like I can't. I just have to like tell people how I feel about like every little thing. And that's why I love like Instagram stories. So I can like that has 24 hours, so that can just like disappear. No one will see.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
yes,
real.
so Elephant's going to be online. It's going to be on my Vimeo, and then be distributed by like, or we're going to have distribution through director's notes. Have you know what that is? And hopefully Stack of the Week on Vimeo. So yay.
Yes.
Excited to like get it out there. It's been a long journey. I was really I can just be transparent. Like I was really worried about how this movie was going to get out because I went through the festival routes, and for a whole year we're just getting rejected, and we're like, damn, like is this movie like ever going to catch some industry like cred? And the last festival we submitted to, we got in. So
Yeah,
that's
the right one.
I know.
I think that, yeah, festivals are very political, and it doesn't really have a lot to do with like the film. Like the film is like 20% of it, and that's the crazy part. But the people that get into festivals based solely off of the films are the real filmmakers. they're not doing it for like clout chasing. It's not their like reps just pushing. They're the
Mhm.
ones that get in through because they're the real artists.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. It's so hard. I mean, I feel so bad for people who are like feature films because that's even harder. It just seems like it takes a lot more political maneuvering.
And your tech just has to be so perfect. The production value and the feature just has to be so perfect to be taken seriously. It's insane. They'll like use any excuse to discredit a feature and say it's not worth being distributed on a major platform. Any excuse. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was great speaking with you. Thank you so
Yes.
much for being on Smoke Show.